Panelists at a roundtable discussion have unanimously rejected amendments tabled by the government to regulate legal education in Ghana. The law professors, MPs and private legal practitioners say the amendments have not only failed to meet the requirements of the Constitution, but also completely ignored the needs of society. The government in February last year laid the Legal Profession Amendment Bill 2018, seeking to make amendments to the existing law passed in 1960. Speaking at the forum organized by CDD Ghana to discuss the proposed amendments, lead campaigner for a complete overhaul of Ghana's legal education system, Professor Stephen Kweku Asare, said the current legislation, which government is seeking to amend, is so fundamentally and incurably flawed that no amendments can make it a responsive law which caters for the modern needs of legal education.
The distinction between academic legal education and professional legal education is superfluous. And secondly, because I believe the law faculties, the universities, have a comparative advantage in educating people to think like lawyers. So what I'm recommending is that all the education is done at the law faculties, and the newly reconstituted regulator called the Council for Legal Education and Practice administer a bar examination twice a year. Every student who has the LLB will be given an opportunity to take the bar examination, and as long as they pass the bar examination, then they will be enrolled as a lawyer. Because the most powerful agency, the General Legal Council, comprising of 4 Supreme Court justices, you could see this is a stakeholders forum on legal education, and they were not here. That tells you the level of interest that they have in legal education.
This amendment bill is before Parliament. Are you meeting with the MPs, particularly the Constitutional Legal Committee, Affairs Committee?
If they invite me, I would go, but I've sent them a 20-page proposal asking that the amendment bill be shelved and then draft a new act, a new bill. Because the system that we have is so fundamentally broken that if we want to amend, we'll amend all the paragraphs.
Well, law lecturer at Gimpa Law School, Clara Biere Keseti, agrees.
And there should be a bar exam. We will work out the details and the modalities. Where it is fair for the students, we provide them the opportunity and all the facilities to pass. Then whether or not they pass depends on them. But we should, that's what the aim should be. Like I said, we sit down and work out the modalities. In terms of the broad framework, we should be competition-oriented rather than protectionist. So we are not seeking to protect anything. We are seeking to encourage competition, because I'm sure we all agree that society benefits better that way. And when it comes to regulating the profession itself, our aim should be that we should be producing women and men of integrity who will stand up and defend and protect the tenets of rule of law. So at the end of the day, I think the little details that will come out will be guided by the broad objectives that we have. We would have a lot more work. I think we need to go back and look at this amendment bill. I think I agree that we should probably be considering an entire act. Having in mind what I said earlier on about what is the need of our society at this point, and then we can take it up from there.
Chairman of Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Ben Abdullah, said the committee fully shares concerns raised about the limited access to legal education in the country.
We agree that the act that regulates legal education has been in existence for so many years now, since 1960. As I said, the population then is not the same as today. The interest is not the same as today. The interest in legal education has gone up. And now, in 1960, coming up through to 1980, 1990, there was just one law faculty, which is the University of Ghana. Now, you can count as many as 10 or 12 law faculties that churn out students, law students, year in, year out. But we are still maintaining one Ghana School of Law with a few campuses. The campuses as we have them now cannot contain the number of law students that are churned out every year. So of course, and obviously, there is a challenge. We need to deal with the challenge. A lot of proposals have been made. Some are of the view that legal education needs to be liberalized. But that's what are they saying? What they are saying is that we should license universities to run legal education. What the General Legal Council should be mandated to do is to, at the end of the day, set bar examinations for all these students to sit the bar examinations, for them to be assessed, and finally, for the successful students to be given licenses to practice.
Are you persuaded?
The trial of Gregory Afoko, the main suspect held in connection with the murder of former MPP Upper East Regional Chairman Adams Mahama, opened on Wednesday at the Accra High Court, with state prosecutors promising to prove his guilt. The suspect, who is brother of former MPP Chairman Paul Afoko, pleaded not guilty to the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder. Whether he will be found guilty or cleared of the charges will either be determined by a 7-member jury, which was also sworn in by the court. There is more in the following report.
The selection of jurors took about 35 minutes as state prosecutors clashed with the defense lawyers. Mr. Afoko's legal team challenged the process with 2 objections, asking for more time to look into the background of all potential jurors. The court on both occasions turned down the request, saying they can object to a person's nomination, but the law does not allow for such investigation. Gregory Afoko then proceeded to exercise his right to object to jurors 3 times without reason. He exercised this twice, with Asaki Alangdi also exercising same once. Other jurors nominated were however accepted, bringing the number to 7. State prosecutors then briefed the court on the facts of the case. Chief State Attorney Marina Pio Paris said the state will demonstrate in the course of the trial that the 2 acted with the aim of killing Adams Mahama. The state, she said, intends to call 19 witnesses in the course of the trial. This is higher than the 14 that were called in the course of the previous trial. She recounted that Paul Afoko, then chairman of the MPP, and Kwabene Japan, then general secretary, attended a meeting in the Upper East region in 2015. The aim, she said, was to work against the then flag bearer of the party, Nana Akufo-Addo. The said meeting, prosecution added, was scattered by some men organized by the late Adams Mahama. Mr. Adams was attacked days after while he was heading home. The state concluded the facts by pointing out that Mr. Mahama, who was rushed to the hospital, named the 2 persons as the ones who poured the acid on him. Mr. Afoko's lawyers opted not to make an opening statement. Lawyer for the second accused person, Asaki Alangdi, Andrew Votia, however, asked the court to order the BNI to allow him ample time to meet his client. This was granted by Justice Wood. The case has been adjourned to July 26 for case management.
Lawyers for Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga are urging the Accra High Court to put his trial on hold. A member of his legal team, Eduji Tamaklo, on Wednesday argued before the court that the case cannot proceed due to a pending appeal they have filed. The MP, who has been charged with using his public office for private gain by the special prosecutor, Martin Amidu, had earlier urged the court to dismiss the case against him, as he, Mahama Yariga, is also in court questioning the eligibility of Mr. Amidu for the role. This was dismissed by the court, presided over by Justice Asari Botre, who ruled that the pending suit questioning Mr. Amidu's eligibility at the Supreme Court should not impair his ability to perform his duties. Mr. Yariga's lawyer urged the court to hold proceedings to overturn the ruling at the Court of Appeal. The application was however opposed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which was represented by Michael Burfy. Justice Ifia Asari Botre adjourned the case to July 31 to deliver her ruling. Meanwhile, the leadership of the minority in Parliament is described as disappointing and unacceptable what it says is a slow pace of work and lack of prosecution so far by the Special Prosecutor, Martin Amidu. Their remarks come after Mr. Amidu, in his latest epistle, alleged that heads of state institutions are deliberately impeding the mandate of his office. Addressing journalists in Parliament House on Wednesday, Deputy Minority Leader James Kluche Aveji advised the Special Prosecutor to take legal action against entities he claims are frustrating his work.
Lament if they don't have the power behind them. If you are desperate, if you are powerless, you lament. That's the only consolation. You will lament over issues. But where you have the power, use the power. So this is not the time for him to be lamenting. It is the time for him to apply the law that established him and made him the special person, because he's a special prosecutor, not any ordinary prosecutor, a special one, and has all the powers under the law. It should go ahead and do that, and it shouldn't limit it to only lamentation or complaining, but rather use the law. Then the people who are actually preventing him from doing his work will get to know that, yes, they cannot just prevent this man because he has the powers of the law behind him. Yeah, so it shouldn't just stop at lamentation. It should continue and then implement the law. For the issue about resources, I think that the 2019 budget made a provision for 180 million Ghana cedis for him. Even though I know that budget is not liquid, but I believe strongly that the Minister of Finance should be able to release funds to him to operate, unless the funds are not released to him. So the issue about resources should not be an issue now. Now, whether the work that he's doing in terms of the number of people that he is prosecuting, if you have resources now, and so far you have only one case which is before court, we expect that you should by now have more cases.
Now, 12 projects, including the proposed Parliamentary Chamber and Marine Drive Master Plan, said to have been awarded to Sir David Ajay, principal architect for Ajay and Associates. It's causing a storm among architects. A petition to the President is, among others, pointing to procurement breaches, the flouting of the Ghana Architects Decree, and unfair playing field. The petitioner claims due process was not followed in the award of those contracts, some of which he claims are already ongoing. Daniel Daze has a copy of the petition and joins me in the studio, but we must indicate that we have not been able to independently verify the claims in the petition, and that of the 12 contracts that have been awarded, are said to have been awarded, we can only speak of 2. But Daniel, you take us through all 12 of them.
Well, like Israel, you said, the 2 that we've been able to independently verify are the National Cathedral Project, which is a public record, and the new Parliamentary Chamber. There's also the Marine Drive Master Plan and International Council Center for Children. This one, there are questions about whether it's a government's project in the first place. There is also the Trade Fair redesign, GMPC Accra Head Office, GMPC Takrady Office Complex, the new office complex for the Bank of Ghana, CD House 2, and there's also the Ochehene Palace design. Again, we don't know if this is a government project in the first place. There's also the new railway terminal design and redevelopment and expansion of the Ghana Embassy in the US.
All right, so of these, we can only speak of, as you indicated, the National Cathedral and the parliamentary complex that was being thought of. Now, what is the concern of this petitioner?
I'll take you through some key paragraphs of the petition which spell out his main concerns. Now, first of all, he says, our concerns are premised on the total and absolute disregard of and non-adherence to the principles of transparency, fairness, equity, and the laws governing the procurement of professional services by statutory companies and bodies. So like Israel, you said earlier, there are 2 legs to this. Number 1 is procurement, and number 2 is the alleged breach of the Architects Decree, which is the NLCD 357. I'll take you to the principal breach that Architect Ekosam, who is the author of this petition, he points to within the Architects Decree. He says that Sir David Ajay, who is the principal architect of Ajay and Associates, to the best of our knowledge, is not licensed nor registered to carry on the profession of an architect under the Architects Decree 1968 NRCD 357 as amended. He's not a member of the Ghana Institute of Architects. Furthermore, neither himself nor AJ and Associates have been registered by the Architects Registration Council pursuant to the Architects Decree NOCD 357 as amended. Now, I have some sections of the law that he referred to here, and if you'll oblige me, I'll go to section 11, general qualifications, general disqualifications, right? It says here, no person shall be registered as an architect unless he has become a resident in Ghana, attained the age of 21 years, and has paid the prescribed fees, and it goes on to give a number of other requirements. I'll skip to, notwithstanding anything in this paragraph, a non-resident being otherwise qualified may make a special application for temporary registration for the purposes of executing a specific project. Now, one of the people I spoke to on the Super Morning Show this morning was Augustus Richardson, who is the honorary secretary for the Ghana Institute of Architects. He mentions that this temporary registration process was started, but was not completed. As of the time some of these contracts were awarded, I should say, including the National Cathedral and, of course, the Parliamentary Chamber. There are a number of other concerns raised there, but that captures it.
But what sort of efforts have we made to try to establish the veracity of the claims being made by this?
First of all, Israel, like you said, there are 12 different contracts here. All these 12 contracts have their own statutory bodies, have their own procurement processes. We have reached out to the Parliamentary Service Board to find out when exactly this contract was awarded, because there is a list of architects in good standing according to the Architects Registration Council emanated from around the end of April 2018, which does not have AJ and Associates. So we wanted to find out if that was taken into consideration. Now, from our checks, what we've learned is that the Architects Registration Council, which puts that list together, is one of the bodies that's vetted AJ and Associates and okayed them to carry on that contract.
Right.
Questions are raised about that from the Institute of Architects. Now, beyond that particular one, we've been trying to get information about the other 11 projects which have proved futile so far.
Now, one other thing that I know has come up in the conversation so far is that AJ and Associates does not necessarily need to have been registered if they can come in having a joint ventureship with one of the architectural firms in Ghana.
Yes, of course. So again, we've been asking questions about these, and I'll just again take you to section 22 of the Architect's Decree, and it says here, no registered architect shall be entitled to practice as an architect unless he is the holder of an annual practicing certificate, which is for the time being enforced. It goes on to explain this. So that's just to cement the points that you've made. Now, when we were asking these questions of the Institute of Architects, because the Institute would know if their member is involved with the AJ and Associates, they said that no such alliance was formed as of the time he was bidding for the contract, which is when that consideration should have been made.
Okay. And in all of this, the people who are petitioning or are raising concerns are not saying that he is not qualified or he doesn't have the capacity, but they feel that there will be some unfairness if he happens to have been awarded all of these.
Exactly. First of all, they feel the law is being broken. And Architect Ekosam mentioned categorically, and I'm reading from his petition, he says, even where we have bidded alongside this government preferred architect and won on merit, this emphasis is not from me, he writes this in bold. A decision is taken to give the project to this architect. Israel, if you'll oblige me for just one more minute. He wrote a letter to Parliament, the Parliamentary Service Board, and well, it was to the Registrar of the Architects Registration Council about the Parliamentary Chamber. And he said here, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Quay, the principal client, had informed us categorically that a decision had already been taken to award the consultancy to Sir David AJ and AJ and Associates.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. That's it. And we will continue to follow on this conversation to try and bring you a lot more on this. We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime. Some aggrieved customers of now-defunct gold dealership firm Menzgold on Wednesday trooped to the police headquarters in Accra in an attempt to have access to the company's CEO, Nana Appiah-Mensah. Nana Appiah-Mensah, popularly known as Nam1, has been in police custody since his return to Ghana, having spent months in a UAE jail. He is said to be facing charges including abetment to defraud by false pretense and 2 counts of abetment to carry out banking business without a license, contrary to the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act. The customers who stormed the police headquarters, however, want government to suspend his prosecution until he has found money to pay them their locked-up funds. My colleague Ernest Menu was with the group and our reports.
Hey! Hey! Our money! Our blood!
The customers who came in from different parts of the country converged at the International Press Center to make 4 demands, including a stay of prosecution. Fred Forson is PRO for the aggrieved customers.
Government agent intervention to set up joint committee comprising leadership of CACM Ghana, Menzgold management, Parliament, and government itself to work towards customers' interests of retrieving their locked up investment. 2, government should help Nana Appiah Mensah, Menzgold CEO, to retrieve all monies due him from Dubai and other places. There should be joint account for all parties, that is CACM, Parliament, Menzgold management, and Ghana.
The consultant Jacob Osei-Boa tells John News some politicians and top government officials are complicit in this case, and the prosecution will only seek to shield individuals involved in the scheme.
From experience, right from Piram days up to this point, some of us, our intelligence has actually informed us that those behind all these so-called scams are politicians, and especially MPP and DC political parties. And that is what is unfolding at this point in time.
And so with regards to this Menzgold issue, you think that politicians are behind it, and are you willing to, do you have evidence to that effect?
You see, after you've gathered intelligence, you take your time before you release them one after the other.
Back to the point, do you have evidence
the claims you're making
that politicians are behind this?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. But this is not the time. And it's going to be unfolded.
And
that is why
you'll be willing to mention names.
Nana Appiah Mensah bought a lot of V8 and things like that. Well, we know.
For politicians?
We gave out money and things like that.
For politicians?
Politicians.
Some of the customers who spoke to John News asked the First Lady Rebecca Kufuor to intervene.
Nana Kufuor yiri madam me chiao. We are bad time wa Ghana memuha. As a First Lady, me patro kasachira wuku. Nana Kufuor Excellency. Se police impanyufuo. Se ya magistrate impanyufuo. Womunjai nam one. Non fa adisia yesika mbraye. Ghana fuamba yewu. Ye hiya yesika. Ahunchira aba Ghana nyina fi Menzgold. Menzgold do na mo bloku ya no. Ene na di ahunchira aba Ghana.
We are not saying government can't do its work on any prosecution, but the prosecution we have 2 ways, criminal or civil. At this moment, we are asking government to suspend the criminal aspect. All we are asking is, let's look at the civil aspect, where we can sit on a round table and ask the guy his capability, his wealth, whether he can be able to pay all of us.
You are the commander-in-chief. Mr. President, you are the commander-in-chief. And then I question. Ghana for this year, a Bible for penny for and care their citizens. All they care is our votes.
The group then moved to the police headquarters to present a letter they hope will grant them access to the embattled CEO. Their consultant, Jacob Osei-Boa, however, says that the police refused to receive the letter.
We have a letter. It's not a petition. It's not a demonstration letter. It's just a letter to seek audience with them so that we will have the opportunity to meet with NAM1. But because most of the aggrieved customers realized that we were heading towards the police headquarters, they all joined us. And so the police sees it as a form of demonstration, with the media also following us. And for that matter, the right thing ought to be done. No, all what they said was that if they receive the letter as at now, then it means that we've demonstrated and we are presenting a petition.
Meanwhile, a petition has also been presented to the Attorney General. Ernest Minu for Joy News.
Fresh evidence from the Northern Region Police Command indicates that the complainant in the case involving the missing Toyota Hilux may have aided in the mysterious disappearance of the vehicle belonging to the newly created Savannah Regional Coordinating Council. Suleiman Iliasu had reported that unidentified armed men wielding AK-47 guns broke into his house and ordered him to give out the keys of the vehicle. But police say its initial investigations showed that the account given by Mr. Suleiman and the driver of the regional minister were inconsistent. Though the police are yet to secure charges for the two, the police public relations officer of the Northern Region Command, DSP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko, says the driver has been granted bail.
One Alaji Ilyas Suleimana. And Alaji Suleimana is the person who the minister left the vehicle in his custody when he was traveling. Initially, it was this Alaji who made the complaint to police. The other person is a driver who the minister handed the vehicle over to be delivered to Alaji Ilyas. He has been granted police inquiry bail, but Alaji Ilyas is still with police trying to assist us with the investigations. Their accounts are contradictory. But in the case of Alaji Ilyasu, he initially told us the vehicle was robbed from his house at gunpoint. But so far, the investigation that we have undertaken and the facts that are coming to us does not indicate that the vehicle was robbed from the house, but it was taken from some other location. That is, if it was even robbed. We need to investigate more, try to gather more evidence, and if we have enough to be able to secure a good charge and prosecution, then we'll do that. But for now, we are not ready for court.
Now, 6 girls aged between 21 and 22 who were scheduled to travel to Lebanon on board an Ethiopian Airlines flight were on Wednesday prevented from embarking on the journey by officials at the Kotka International Airport. According to the Ghana Immigration Service, the girls were stopped on suspicion they were being trafficked as they appeared younger than the ages stated in their passports. A press release signed by the Public Relations Officer of the service at the Kotka International Airport, Barbara Sam, stated the girls were unable to tell the purpose of travel and their final destination when they were interviewed. In a related development, a 26-year-old woman who was forced by her family members to travel to the Gulf was also stopped. The woman was spotted crying by an officer at the departure hall further disclosed that the family had threatened her not to return home should she refuse to travel to Lebanon. ACI Edith Penelope Ahin, Regional Commander, Ghana Immigration Service at the Kotka International Airport, joins us on phone now with more. So thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Can you explain to us the circumstances under which these girls were stopped from flying?
Hello?
Yes, madam.
Hello?
Yes. So I'm asking if you could explain to us the circumstances under which these girls were stopped from flying.
Well, yes. Usually when they come, we screen them. At this time, we have heightened our screening processes because when they go, at the end of the day, they become frustrated at the other end, at the Gulf Sea. And they will be distressed over there and then call for help from the government. So in a bid not to allow more of them to experience or to become frustrated at that end, we have decided to heighten our screening processes. So that when you ask you don't know your left from your right, immediately we have to stop you from going, so that you don't become a burden on the government.
Now, these girls who we're talking about, who were stopped, the 6 plus the other lady making 7, where do we know them to be going?
Well, some were going to Lebanon. Some were also going to Iran, Iraq. There's a city called Ebin. Yes, that's where they were going. They were going to different places around the Gulf region.
You indicated that when you spoke with them initially, they were not forthcoming with information. Have they been open to you now? Have they told you where they were going and why they were going?
Yes. At the end of the day, they were going to seek greener pasture.
That's what they said?
Yes. It's because somebody has lured them that there is a good job for them out there. They will get money and then they come back.
Have they indicated who this supposed trafficker or whoever is luring them, did they indicate who this person is?
Well, usually when they mention the name to you, try doing follow-up. When you call for the first time, the second time, you won't get through.
But at least they gave you information on this person?
Yes, a little information, so we are still searching.
All right. Now, what will happen to the ladies, and has the Immigration Service been able, what will happen to these ladies now that they've been stopped from traveling?
Well, we will make sure we find their families and then we advise them so that they go back, and then if it's trading that they will engage in, they will make sure they put them into trading.
How about this one lady who you're saying, or who was refused, who was indicating that the family didn't want her back?
Yes. For her, her brother came for her.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, ACI Edith Ahin. She is with the Ghana Immigration Service. Meanwhile, the Accra Region Police is embarking on a detainment drive to create awareness on kidnapping. 3 girls who went missing in Takoradi are yet to be found, as family members and the general public continue to mount pressure on the police. The police says it launched an anti-kidnapping campaign in a bid to help combat what was becoming a trend. A drama featuring personnel of the Ghana Police Service at a summer camp organized by the Forum of Heads of Girls Senior High Schools at Ebri in the Eastern Region educated some of the students from selected girls' schools on how to prevent kidnapping. Public Relations Officer of the Accra Region Police Command, DSP Efiatenge, stated the drama is to help properly disseminate practical security tips on how to prevent the act. Maxwell Agogba has more on this report.
The drama begins with a character, Shut Up Baby, who met a stranger online known as the Don. Shut Up Baby, after exchanging numerous text messages and pictures with a new friend, agreed to meet him. The Don promised Shut Up Baby a well-paying job, trips outside Ghana, and more. On the agreed day of their meeting, the promises continued in the Don's car.
I am getting me my phone. I am getting you your iPhone, as you said. Take the drink. I will feel of it. Taste it. Yeah, you know, freedom. Shut up. Freedom. Shut up. Shut up, baby. Freedom. Are you okay? Shut up, baby. Are you okay? Shut up. Freedom. Shut up.
The Don gave Shut Up Baby a drink which made her unconscious. Regain consciousness, she was tied with a rope, unable to move. Her new friend, now kidnapper, together with his accomplice, called her mother, demanding a ransom before she'll be released.
Hurry up. Are you sure there's someone else number? Are you sure, madam? Madam, I hope you're fine. Madam, relax, it's no man's side. Madam, relax. I just called to tell you that your daughter, Mansa, is with me.
Shut Up Baby, unlike others, was lucky, as a team of police officers managed to rescue her. More than half of the people who played various roles in the drama were personnel drawn from the Accra Region Police Command. Yes, leader of the team, Public Relations Officer of the Accra Regional Police Command, DSP Efiatenge.
We're trying to create a security awareness among our generation of women. And what we have realized over the time is that most of us are not security conscious. So we are most times taken unawares. And we witnessed a particular trend in crime at the latter part of last year until even this year. And that was the kidnapping. Looking at how things unveiled, we thought that we should roll up a campaign to educate the general population. And as part of our campaign, the first phase was to educate our girl children. And so this campaign began in Accra. We have been to all the girls' schools in Accra. But one thing we decided to use was to change our communication strategy. We didn't want to use the usual presentation, the slides. Some of them, or even most of them, are boring. So we will look at the language of the teenage girl. We look at what the teenage girl would gladly embrace. And we made sure that we dotted the security tips alongside the concepts, so that at the end of the day, we'll have them memorize everything that we have taught them.
Some students who were present during the stage play have been sharing the lessons they picked.
In this modern world, social media is really giving us, especially women, so we should be very careful at whom we chat and also how we do our things, because since
I'm based on the way from Prosecution Senior High School. I learned that the kidnappers have targets on the senior high students, especially students on vacation. So as they are on vacation, for instance, we should be very vigilant.
The opposition NDC has joined calls for the revocation of the appointment of the former Maritime Authority boss as board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority. The party says Mr. Kwame Owusu's appointment is testament the president endorses corruption. Several civil society groups, including CDD, GII and SHRAJ, have described the appointment as unfortunate, especially as the Transport Ministry is yet to make public details of their probe into allegations of impropriety against him. We'll hear from the party shortly, but first listening to Minority Spokesperson on Finance, Cassia Lato-Forsing, who says the president's appointee lacks integrity.
Unfortunately, you are sending someone who is tainted in the eyes of the public to head the Revenue Authority. He's tainted in the sense that as we speak, no one, in fact, as I speak, no one has seen the report that will more or less exonerate him or indict him. If you think the report is that clear, and clearly there's nothing wrong with him, this government wouldn't have come out and published the report. Why are they in the report as we speak? Why is it that the minister responsible for transport hasn't come out as we speak to say that he is cleared? I think the situation is bad.
He's still innocent until proven guilty.
You don't need rocket science.
Why is that? I don't know that.
I know he's guilty.
Well, give me evidence.
And everybody out there, the evidence is that it's in the report. They're hiding the report.
You've seen the report?
Guilty, they should bring the report.
You've seen the report?
I am saying this on authority that they should publish the report. He's been indicted. Now the government has decided that in spite of the fact that he's been indicted, is going to send him to more sensitive positions. Nowhere else than GRA. GRA is taxed to correct tax revenue equivalent to 13% of our GDP. That is huge. And GRA is entitled to 3% of that amount as their retention. 3%. So he's going to handle huge amount of money as the board chairman.
So knowing
he's the board chairman, he has to ensure that that money is put into proper use. Now you have placed the same guy there, a man who has been indicted. The integrity of GRA is so important to us. And as I said, revenue is the blood of every country. And now everyone, even including myself, for me to pay my taxes, I need to be assured that the taxes that I'm paying is going to be put into proper use to benefit all of us. Today, you are demoralizing all of us by telling us that even the taxes we are going to pay, this is the man who is going to manage the affairs of our taxes. I think that is bad for us.
The NDC says the latest appointment adds to a long list of cases of impropriety against appointees which have gone unpunished. Here are extracts of the statement read to you.
Democratic Congress joined several well-meaning Ghanaians in expressing our disbelief over the decision of President Akufo-Addo to appoint Mr. Kwame Owusu as chair of a board of directors of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA. This appointment comes barely 9 months after Mr. Owusu was accused of financial misappropriation as Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority. It will be recalled how Mr. Kwame Owusu made the headlines for the wrong reasons after spearheading and defending dubious and wasteful expenditure at the Ghana Maritime Authority, including spending a whopping 135,000 cedis on an end-of-year party for staff of the authority, and also spending 10,000 cedis on buffet for 17 people, 1 million Ghana cedis to renovate his official 2-bedroom apartment, and fitting as many as 11 air conditioners in it for his own comfort, among others. This needless profligacy on the part of a man who was supposed to be a public servant sent many tongues wagging at the time, leading to government instituting a half-hearted probe into the said allegations of financial malfeasance, and eventually culminated in Mr. Kwame Owusu's resignation as Director General of the authority in February this year. As we speak, Ghanaians do not know the outcome of the supposed investigations into the conduct of Mr. Kwame Owusu during his tenure at the Maritime Authority. Instead, Akufo-Addo has rewarded him with another opportunity, this time at the nation's revenue outfit, to continue his abuse of the public purse. It is our considered view that the appointment of Mr. Kwame Owusu as chairman of the GRA board is a testament of the fact that President Akufo-Addo endorses corruption and has developed an unlimited capacity to accommodate and promote the corrupt activities of his appointees. We dare say that given the present posturing of our president, the war against corruption is far from being won. We therefore urge all to remain resolute and continue to shine the light on the corrupt Akufo-Addo government. And we also demand the immediate revocation of the appointment of Mr. Kwame Owusu as board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Deputy Information Minister Pius Ajide says the appointment of Kwame Owusu was based on his excellent track record in his previous position at the Ghana Maritime Authority. He told Accra-based City FM Kwame Owusu would outperform in his new position.
If you check the track record of the gentleman in question within his time at the Ghana Maritime Authority, his track record is quite impressive. The facts speaks for themselves. That, for instance, in 2016, that organization was making losses. In fact, their revenue was about some 64 million and their expenditure was about some 72 million. That is a company that was making losses. Now, when the gentleman assumed office in 2017, they made a revenue of 99 million and expended 56 million thereabouts. And so the organization has been turned around into a profit-making organization. In 2018, that organization made a revenue of 141 million and expended 73 million. Profits in excess of over 40 million within 2 years. This was an organization that was making losses. So the track record of the gentleman, as I have researched and understand, I think that anybody, including His Excellency the President, could be quite justified in considering that a person who can turn a loss-making organization around in 2 years into a profit-making organization does have some qualifications and competencies to contribute his quota to national development, particularly in the area of revenue mobilization. And so it is not to suggest that there are no other persons capable and qualified and competent, but there are several others. And one of those persons capable, qualified, competent to be able to do this work includes, if you check the track record, like I said, the gentleman under consideration.